All right, today we are going deep. We're talking about the very foundations of management.
So let's kick things off with a question that, let's be honest, we've all asked ourselves at some point. Why is your boss your boss? I mean, really, what actually gives them that title, that authority to, manage people? Well, the answer is way more interesting than just a spot on an org chart. It's actually this incredible story that spans about 100 years. And it's all about efficiency, psychology, and systems thinking, all woven together. So, yeah, let's dive in. So let's rewind the clock. We're starting way back at the turn of the 20th century. This is where we find the very first blueprints for management. And the whole idea back then, it was to build a business that ran like a perfect, flawless machine. You had these two major pioneers, Frederick Taylor and Henri Fayol, and they came at it from different angles. Taylor was all about what he called scientific management. He was obsessed, and I mean obsessed, with the individual task. He'd literally stand there with a stopwatch, trying to find the one single best way to do any given job. But then you had Fayol, who kind of zoomed out. He looked at the whole organization and tried to figure out the universal rules for what a manager should be doing, starting from the very top. And this quote right here, it really gets to the core of what Taylor was thinking. He truly believed that if you could make every single action perfectly efficient, it wouldn't just make the company richer, it would make the employee richer too. It was supposed to be a total win-win, all powered by pure efficiency.
Okay, so this whole business as a machine idea sounds great on paper, right? But it was about to hit a major, major snag. And that snag, the parts of the machine were people. And that changed everything.
Because here's the thing, a factory, an office, any company, it isn't just a machine. It's a living, breathing thing filled with human beings. And humans, we're messy, we're complicated, we have feelings. And this simple realization gave rise to a whole new school of thought. You had thinkers like Elton Mayo, Mary Parker Follett, and C.I. Barnard who started saying, hey, wait a minute, you can't just ignore the person actually doing the work. Now check this out, 20%. This number comes from a famous series of studies that Elton Mayo did at a factory called Hawthorne Works. They saw productivity jump by 20%. And the reason why? It was something nobody saw coming. So the researchers went in thinking they were going to study how lighting affects productivity. And it was weird. They made the lights brighter, and yep, productivity went up. But then, get this, they made the lights dimmer, and productivity went up again. It turned out it had absolutely nothing to do with the lights. The real reason for the boost was that for the first time, someone was actually paying attention to the workers. Things like feeling like part of a team and just being noticed. That was way more powerful than any change to their physical workspace. And boom, just like that, the entire field of management got flipped on its head. It wasn't just about stopwatches and flowcharts anymore. Suddenly, it was also about psychology. It was about what motivates us and how we relate to each other. Now, this new focus on the human element didn't just throw out the old ideas. Instead, it added new layers on top. And this led to a bunch of new, more sophisticated ways of looking at the whole picture. First up, you've got the behavioral approach. This is the direct evolution of what Mayo discovered at Hawthorne. It's all about putting psychology first, trying to understand what actually drives people and how teams work together. Then you have the systems approach. This is where you stop seeing a company as a bunch of separate boxes on a chart and start seeing it like an ecosystem, right? A change in one area, say marketing, is going to create ripples that affect sales, operations, everything. It's all connected. Around the same time, we get the quantitative approach. You can think of this as Taylor's stopwatch idea, but on steroids. This is all about using math, stats, and hard data to make decisions. This is really the birth of the data-driven management we talk so much about today. And finally, there's the contingency approach, which kind of brings it all together. This is basically the it depends theory of management. The big idea here is that there is no one perfect way to manage. The best move is always contingent on the situation you're in right now. So a good way to think about this is like having 4 different pairs of glasses. A manager can put on the behavioral glasses and ask, how do I motivate my team? Then they can switch to the systems glasses to see how a decision will affect everyone else. The quantitative glasses make them ask, what does the data say? And the contingency glasses force them to ask the most important question of all. What's the right move for right now? Okay, that was a lot of history and a lot of theory. So the big question is, what does this all mean for what a manager actually does day to day? Well, that's where we get to the modern manager's toolkit. And this is the really cool part. All that history we just walked through, from the stopwatches to the psychology, it didn't just stay in academic papers. It's all been boiled down into a practical set of tools that any manager can use.
And at its core, it comes down to these 6 functions. You start by planning and making decisions, figuring out where you're going. Then you have to organize all your resources and get the right people on the bus with staffing. Now, directing, this is where that human element really comes in. It's not just barking orders, it's about leading and motivating. After that, you've got to be controlling to make sure you're actually on track. And finally, you're coordinating all the pieces, which goes right back to that systems thinking, making sure everything works together.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I mean, you could be managing a software team, a coffee shop, or a hospital wing. These 6 functions, they are the absolute DNA of management. They're how all that theory becomes reality. So let's just do a super quick recap of the journey. We started with those early, rigid blueprints. Then we had that aha moment with the human element. That evolved into seeing the bigger picture with systems and data. And all of that led us to where we are today, with a flexible toolkit that's all about essential functions and adapting to the situation. And if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that management isn't some static job description you can memorize. No way. It's a living, breathing practice that's always changing, always adapting to what's happening in the world. Which brings us to one last big question. We're now in this world of AI everywhere and teams scattered all over the globe. So what's next? What's the new essential tool that every manager is going to need in their toolkit? Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for watching.